Hello everybody, welcome back to Sprueverse, my scale model universe, people of Earth. Welcome to a brand new build. This one is really special and it's got all kinds of unique features to it, and it may complicate and confuse the issue for what I'm trying to do, but I'm going to explain myself and then we're going to dive in. Okay, so several years ago now, there was a gentleman who had a business called Crowsnest Models. Now, tragically, we lost Drew a few years ago, but some of his closest friends did get together and were able to help the family when they sort of sold off some of his models and kits and that sort of a thing. So Crowsnest models are out there. You can find them once in a while. They're not easy to find, but you can find them. But let me explain to you what I'm doing. For the purpose of me building a model for my display shelf, I'm going to be building the MOEBIUS Proteus. And I'm going to be presenting it on a Randy Cooper base. Now, simultaneously, we're going to be building the Crowsnest version. Oh yes, oh yes, this is a double header, folks. And the Crowsnest version has a very unique display stand, the files for which are available, and I'll give you all of that information as we build and tell you a lot more about it. But it is awesome. It is the actual miniaturization set that has been lovingly created by a group of talented artists and friends, and I will talk about that as we build. I will show you the finished article. We will get our Crowsnest version of the Proteus on its stand, and we will as a finale, we're going to get the MOEBIUS version on its stand. So let's take a look at the two versions, and you can see now. Could you display the MOEBIUS version on the on this base? I guess you could. But for me, no. I like the scale of Drew's Proteus. I think it belongs on that base. And I certainly, as a friend of Randy's, and I know Randy very well, and we'll give you information about how to get his base. It's a solid resin base. Now, there's a couple of differences here, and we're going to go through them. We're going to do a basic build-up of the Crowsnest version. It's not going to have a full interior, even though it comes with this kit. We're going to do the full interior and all the bells and whistles on the MOEBIUS kit. But I thought it would be fun to combine both into one beautiful build, which may take us, I don't know, maybe 3 parts. I'm not sure. We'll see. But we're going to do something I've never done before, which is build 2 of the same version of something side by side. But I think it's worth it because I happen to know that Drew's version of this incredible machine, this sub from this movie Fantastic Voyage, which if you've not seen it, it's a movie from 1966 produced by 20th Century Fox. Please check it out. If you're a fantasy guy and you've not seen Fantastic Voyage, shame on you. Okay, so some of you might have Drew's kit on the shelf and go, oh yeah, I've got that. Get it out, we're building it. Some of you, a lot of you, have built this or have it on the shelf. Get it out, we're building it. Come on. You know who you are. You're all guilty of having dust on boxes on shelves. We're going to build. We build on this channel, and we encourage all of you to do the same. Okay. But I did want to say that, yeah, these kits, both these kits come from one was modeled after the other. You can see they are absolutely identical. They truly are. And I know how much time and effort Drew spent on making sure that his product was a quality product. And I know enough to know that had he have had some of the technology available to him today and the friends to help him, I think he would have done an awful lot more. He was super talented. I also have his Icarus, which has an interior, which I would certainly love to build on the channel. I don't know if we'll get to it this year, but it's something I definitely want to build. Now, so that's what we're doing. And again, a couple of differences too. The miniaturization base, it lights up, and it also has sound, and the lighting kit is courtesy of Ralph over at Tenor Controls. It is available from Tenor Controls. It is a superb little kit. And it's very easy to put together. So we'll be building that kit. We'll be putting that kit into the miniaturization base. You can say that with your teeth. So we're going to be doing that. We are going to be doing bells and whistles on the MOEBIUS model. And because we're doing bells and whistles, we need bells and we need whistles. So what do we have? Oh yes, be afraid. This is Aztek Dummy masks. Now this is this is AD47. Here it is. It's AD47, and AD47. It's terrific because what you're going to get the gaskets in black for the windows. You're going to get masks for the windows. You're going to get some really beautiful vinyl tape, really good vinyl tape for the steps, because there were these black steps that lead up to they showed you the steps that showed you how to get in the sub. And he also provides us with some other masking material for various elements of the build. Even though this is basically it's white. It's sort of white, but you know, it's got some details on it, and so we're going to be using that. And of course, if you're doing bells and whistles, you can't do whistles unless you have Paul's photoetch from Paragraphix. And here that is. Look at that. And this is absolutely fantastic. You've got so many things that you can use to detail this out. It's going to be great. Now we're going to be lighting it too. There is a lighting kit available from Voodoo Effects. Randy Newbert has it. It's on his website. Again, I'll give you information on how to get that if you want it. But I'm going to just simply be putting my own lighting in because I'm going to augment it. I'm going to make sure that it's really got some punch for me. So even though the kit basically really only needs a sort of source light for inside the cockpit, a source light for the environmental lab in the back, and of course the light around the ring of the bubble where the pilot sits. Now, to that end, there is a couple of things you can do. I know Gambody has a 3D Proteus available. And the thing about that is, if you've got a resin printer, it might be worth picking it up for, it's like 20 bucks, 25 bucks. It might be worth picking it up because you've got some really interesting detail parts on there. And we're going to print those out and take a look at them. But should you want the 15-inch base from Randy Cooper, Randy also carries a aftermarket augment set for the MOEBIUS models Proteus. Okay, I hope you're taking notes. I hope you're taking notes now. Don't worry, I'll make sure that you are well informed about what we're doing. But to that end, you can pick up this aftermarket kit from Randy. He gives you some new engine cowls for the jets, the propelled jets in the back. He gives you some window treatments, and he also gives you some very highly detailed hatches, very highly detailed. So we're going to be using Randy's aftermarket set because I think it will add some punch to this. And we'll be looking at the details, and we will, as we go along, definitely be looking at the pros and cons of it, because if it doesn't add super detail, we probably will pass. But the one thing that I'm pretty excited about that comes in Randy's aftermarket part is this little milk. It's cast resin in a milk in a milky white. And the reason why I'm excited about this is because I'm going to be able to hide my dome light in here. And this will do a couple of things. It's going to diffuse it, and it will really give it a much more sort of studio looking effect. So I'm pretty happy about that. Even though it's hard to believe that, you know, something like this could do so much to improve your model, but it can. So I am absolutely tickled pink that, you know, this is a kit that I haven't built, and I'm going to now, but it has all this aftermarket stuff that can really, really make your kit explode with detail, and it'll be an awful lot of fun. Now, there are a couple of things that we're going to have to work out on this, because we're going to need to figure out how we're going to turn the lights off and on this. I may reach out to Ralph over at Tenor Controls and pick up a remote control board for this. Which means I can just turn this off and on by remote control. It's probably the best way to do it, so that you don't have to start drilling into this beautiful hard resin shelled base. So lots to do. Hey, I am absolutely thrilled you're with me on this journey. Thank you. We're going to have an awful lot of fun, and we're going to really be enjoying what it's going to take to make these two kits shine. Okay, step one. I'm going to get everything in some warm soapy water just to wash off any release that might be on these kits. We're going to give them a little wash. And then we're going to clean everything up. We're going to need to take a little bit of flashing, just a little bit of flashing off of the old resin kit. And that's fine. We're more than prepared to do that. So we're going to do that. And we're going to also just make sure that there's just a tiny little bit of flashing on the 15-inch version that needs to be cleaned up. And we're going to be doing that. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to sort of do a little bit of one and then move to the other. Do a little bit of one and then move backwards and forwards. So I pity anybody who comes to this show 15 or 20 minutes in. Their heads will explode. But for all of you who stuck around for my ridiculously long intro, bless you, because you're going to have a far better experience. I know I will. Drew's kit was an all resin molded kit. And you've got some cleanup to do. Now, for the most part, Drew's kit is pretty decent, but you still have to clean them up, which means you're dealing with resin, which means you're sanding resin, which means you need to make sure that you are protected. All right, at the moment I'm okay. I'm just cleaning flash from the actual front windshield, but nevertheless, it's quite a bit of cleanup. So if you do have this kit, it's like everything else. Give yourself, make a nice cup of tea, and give yourself a couple of hours, listen to your favorite podcast, and go at it. I've got my trusty machine, dust collecting machine on the bench. So for those of you who wish to make any crude comments, go ahead. This is the time to make them. Otherwise, leave me alone. I've demonstrated this before. I got this from Micromark. There's plenty of them on the market. But essentially, it's a dust collector. You have a light, as you can see, with a nozzle that sucks all of the dust and debris into this machine like a little vacuum cleaner. It sits on my desk. And you can change the power on it, and you just work under it. You put it on your desk like this, and it's got a lovely light, and you just work under it, and it continues to take all the dust and debris away from the model as you're building it. So pretty nifty, and it's a nice thing to have. I'm reminded by my dear friend Lou Del Meso over at the Aztek Dummy himself, that when we talk about scale on these things, he said, Both scales are correct. They're 1-to-1 because in any frame during the miniaturization process, it was most likely that size. He had a very excellent point. So I just wanted to give him props for that and mention it. You know, the other thing I wanted to do actually while we're here is go back to the instructions that come with the MOEBIUS kit. If you go to the back of the instructions, there's a special thank you section. And in that special thank you section, I want to point out that there's Lou. Look at that. And there's, of course, the great Andrew Huffman. We knew him as Drew. And so, you know, there's a tremendous amount of synergy between the 15 and Drew's. It is patently obvious if you look at both of them that the 15 is completely lifted from Drew's. So I think it's only fitting that we build these together and celebrate them together. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you because I'm so proud of my friend Lou, who is so talented, and his masks have made life so much easier for so many of us who otherwise would be spending the next 35 years masking everything up with tape. Okay, we're on the 1/48 scale version of the Proteus. And, you know, there's an awful lot to marvel at here, I have to say. Drew really went to a tremendous amount of effort to detail things and really accurize things and give you, you know, give you parts that, yes, you've got to do some cleanup to, but if you can get there, you've really got some strong details. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. This is just, you know, I've taken it out of the bag now, but these are the metal parts that are given to us. And you know, you've got armrests, you've got locking mechanisms for the doors, you've got the frame for the lower part of the chair for the pilot. You've got all kinds of little details. Here is here's the snorkel that belongs on the top of the submarine. And then you've got all kinds of other little things, fire extinguishers, incredible little details, incredible. So, you know, bravo, Drew, bravo, bless you. You done us proud. This is a really fun kit. If you have this kit on the shelf, well, you might have this one and you might have the 15-inch MOEBIUS. You might have both. It's one of those kits that find some time and really dive into it and have some fun with it, because once you figure things out, you'll be okay. Now, if you do have both kits, you're lucky, because you can actually use this guide to build your Crowsnest version. Because they're identical. It's basically the same parts list. So you just go ahead and you know, dive in, and you'll come to the same conclusion that I did very quickly. It's an identical list. But anyway, hey ho. So what I'm doing is I'm making some decisions here. Now, these decisions will offend some of you in the audience, and others will go, Jimmy cracks corn. However, it's important because the MOEBIUS version is going to get all the bells and whistles, and we need to talk about how we're going to visually see the lab. The Crowsnest version is not. I'm actually going to cut it off. You will not see the lab in this model. I've just decided that I'm not going to make an effort to put it in there because you're just never going to see it. And because of the size of this, it's just not worth it. Now, if you, to me personally, I don't want to offend anybody, but and if you decide to light this as well, you can have some fun lighting it. I will not be lighting it. I will be doing full lighting on the other one, but we're building them together, so we're going to jump backwards and forwards. I'm starting with the smaller version because there's a few things that have to be worked out. Okay, so the first thing I've done is I've started to position where we are with the consoles here, the maps in front. You've got two seats that belong in front of this. You've got the pilot's position up here, and so all of these parts now have to be cleaned up, but I know exactly where they go. So what I'm going to do is, before I do anything else, I'm going to start with the pilot's chair, and I'm going to work my way down. So that's what I'm going to do now. Now I know I'm dealing with the pilot's chair because it's the only one that has this little cylinder underneath. The other two are square based. They look like that. So I am going to use this in the pilot's seat right here on top. And I've got the frame that I showed you. Here that is, and we're going to have to, we'll clean that up, and as you can see, we're going to, well, you can't see. Phil, you can't see. Okay, all right. So you can see where the hole is that marks where the position of the seat. So that's going to go in here, and then we've got armrests, and we've got some wire. Some wire we're going to have to bend. We're provided with that. Here it is. And we will make the chair. Now, there are figures that go with this, if you can believe this. And they're all made out of this zinc or pewter or whatever it is. You know, it's molded. And we do have those. So we could probably paint those up and put them in. Why not? You'll see them through the window. That won't be too difficult. Okay, so while we're here, you can see from this piece here, it's identical. It's actually identical. Everything is identical. But now that you know, and you've got this other wall here, and that goes down this side. Like that. And if I'm careful, you can see that wall goes in, and all of a sudden it starts to take shape. So lots to work on here. Step one is to get all these parts cleaned up, get the pewter parts or zinc parts cleaned up, and we'll work on the chair, and I'll show you my progress on the chair in just a moment. This is several pieces that come with the kit, except for I used two little pieces of plastic card for the foot pedals. It was suggested that we trim a piece off of the photoetch board that was supplied, but this is a much cleaner and crisper way to do it, in my opinion. So you've got this metal frame. You've got the two armrests, and he gives you the resin seat part, and then he also gives you some brass rod This is supplied. This is a 1/32 rod, and that forms the headrest gear. And then, of course, here's the figure, and the figure sits quite nicely in the chair, and I think you know, does a reasonable job of getting you there. So now this all has to be painted up, but that is ready to go. Now, you know, just take your time. It's part of the sort of the fun of the hobby, which is to tackle some of these things. Now they're fiddly, and if you've got fat fingers like me, and sometimes I don't know what it is. I assure you there's nothing wrong with me. All the blood work came back good on my last physical, but I got a little bit of the shakes. I'm 62, and I can be relatively still, but sometimes, you know, I don't know what it is. You get a little bit of the shakes, but I'm not panicking. But I got this together quite well. And I'll tell you, you know, zip kicker in a little bottle with a little needle pin top is fantastic for attaching to one side of it, because I don't know about you, but when I don't want my super glue to stick to anything, it sticks to everything. And when I want it to stick to something instantly, it'll never do it. Don't ask me why. Do you remember those commercials where the guy would put a little bit on the metal over the hard hat and he'd hang on and then he'd let go and he was just hanging from his super glue? I don't know what happened to that formula, but it doesn't appear to be on the market anymore. Okay. Thrilled with my chair. It's going to look absolutely brilliant sitting up here in its correct place. So there, that is it. So we are making progress. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean up the rest of the parts for the cockpit area, and then we'll get a coat of primer on all of that, and we'll start to detail it out. And then I think what we'll do is we'll get to the same sort of spot with the MOEBIUS. So we'll sort of shift gears and we'll go to that kit and we'll get to the same place with that. To the work at hand. So again, you know, we're in the instruction booklet, and it's a beautiful instruction booklet with, I might add, the John Eves Proteus that John reached out to me the other day and said, hey, awesome build, and he was honored to have been asked to actually do this. And I'm thrilled to be able to say that John is a good friend. And so it is absolutely delightful that we've got all of these connections. I mean, you know, it's just wonderful. It's an awesome community, and it's great for me. I just get such a kick out of that. But anyway, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to tackle the MOEBIUS version of the pilot's seat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull all of these pieces, and we'll take a look at them. Now I've got all the sprues with me here on the bench. I'm gonna actually just sort of plow through these very quickly. I didn't prepare these in advance at all, and there's a reason for that, actually. You know, sometimes it's fun to you know, to not treat the bench like it's a cooking show. Some of you, you know, like to see all the sort of in the weeds moments, and others of you just don't care. And it's okay. I'm going to try and please everybody, although you really can't. Okay, so here are the parts in front of me, and we're going to construct the pilot's seat along with the frame here, and this frame here is the frame that the seat is going to sit in, and as you can see, it's got its foot pedals on it, and you can see in scale, in comparison, here are the two different scales. So we're definitely going up in scale for the MOEBIUS kit. Now, the only piece of photoetch that we have for the pilot seat is the pedals are right here. So we're going to snip those off, and we're going to remove the pedals actually from the piece, and we're going to replace those. So we'll do that. So and you can see here everything fits quite nicely. Here is, and now it's not glued in yet, but here is the arm, and it sits beautifully on the chair. And we have other details too. We have some headsets and a ring, and we have armrests. We have a headset support. We have a suspension ring spine for the back of the chair. Lots of little details. So I'm going to go ahead and assemble this. Okay, I'm going to snip off the tops of the pedals, but I'm going to leave just enough of a tab here for my photoetch to bite to. So I'm going to install my photoetch right now. And here is the photoetch installed on the foot bar for the pilot's chair. So the entire this entire frame will be painted in a very dark sort of red. It's got more black in it than red, but the whole frame is going to be painted in this color. And so there's going to be a couple of sub-assemblies. Here's the chair. Here's the chair, and that is looking quite good. Sorry, I just had a little of adjustment there, but there's the chair. This is the chair. And again, let's put it side by side with its smaller version, which I'm doing a little bit of scratch building on, obviously, to get the headrest and the communications center for the headrest. But basically, pretty darn good. I think Drew did a pretty good job with this one, and we're going to be able to put a little more detail in this one. So I'm happy about that. So now I'm in a sub-assembly mode, except for one piece, which I want to show you here. Now there is a ring, and on this ring is the instrument cluster for the pilot. This is the piece that comes with the MOEBIUS kit. And so I've got some photoetch that I need to install on that, which I'm going to do, and that requires me to actually grind off the face of this here, so that I can get a nice smooth surface. And I don't. I think there is there's just a decal for this. I'm not sure, but some dry brushing, that'll be fine. And you'll get to see a little bit of it if you look through the dome, so that'll be cool. But it's a nice detail. There is a way to light it. There is a way to light it. If you wanted to go absolutely crazy, you could get a Evans. Well, it's not Evans, but I mean they supply them. It's a microchip SMD that you could actually put in the screen by drilling a hole up in there and then running the wire, which is a very thin magnet wire, round here, this piece here, and take it down the back of the chair. Don't panic, I won't be doing that. I won't be doing that. Now, I've got another one of these kits sitting around, and so one day, if I'm in the mood, I might experiment with that and see if I could actually, if I have the actual skill level yet to actually do that. But it would be pretty amazing to get that lit. Okay, really, this really came together quite well. But the way this is going to work is when you actually seat the foot frame to the chair, there's a little tab here in the back of the chair, and this tab goes through the foot frame and then allows you to seat the whole element to the bottom of the chair. Now, and that's how that will live. Here is, well, I'll show you. I guess I'll show it to you from this side because it hasn't got any of the elements on it yet. That's the one that, this is the one that comes with the MOEBIUS kit, and this is the one that comes with Drew's kit. Now, we're going to have to make some decisions, and we're going to talk about this because in the MOEBIUS kit, as it is given to you, as it is presented, the actual dive door for pressurizing and getting them out to outside the sub is closed. It's not in the open position. Now, there are many talented people out there whose builds I have seen. One of them I want to give a shout out to is my friend Ken Spriggs. If you don't know Ken, go check out his channel, Ken Spriggs. Super talented, built this many years ago now. In fact, a lot of the guys who were building this, including Lou, who had a test shot of this. So he built it a couple of times. So they got some really early looks at this kit. But one of the things that they did, well, certainly Ken did, was he opened up the dive door. And and then sort of detailed the interior of it with the door sort of partially open. I will certainly look at that because it adds a certain amount of drama to the model. And then we've got the rear walls to the front cabin that have to be looked at, as well as a couple of other chairs, and that will get us basically side by side on where we are on the builds, and then we can start looking at going back and doing some painting of those elements, and that's how we'll proceed forward. And here is the photoetch installed on the control cluster for the pilot. So that is all of the photoetch required for the seat assembly. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean up the rest of the pieces that are required to go inside the cabin, inside the cockpit, and so that we can then compare and contrast that to the to the smaller version, and we'll be caught up. Okay, so now it's starting to get interesting because we're at a point in this build where we're going to have to make some decisions, and I'm not going to bore you with my brain exploding with possibilities and the ideas, but I want to talk through just the general aspect of what I'm thinking and where we are, in case you decide to get this off the shelf and build it with me. So, as you can see, if we look at the various elements that we're dealing with here, we've got the airlock here. You've got your back wall, which is going to have a door, obviously, and you've got your two side panels. Now, in front of that, you're going to have the map table, and on top of that sits the foot, the plate or the roof of the lower section, but it also is where the pilot is going to sit, and his chair and everything else goes up here. And then on top of that, as we look exterior, you're going to obviously have your bubble dome, and that's going to be lit, and that's where the pilot is going to look out. So What we're considering here is lighting as well as what we're detailing. Now, if you go back to Drew's kit and we look at this part again, we remind ourselves of this part. This is from Drew's kit. The foot plates are already embedded onto the resin, and that's fine. They're relatively decent, and we're going to go with those. But for the 15-inch build, we're going to soup it up a notch, because there are photo etch parts galore for all of this. I mean, this is where Paul over at Paragraphix just went to town. And what I think is really interesting and exciting is I went back and looked at Lou's video of the Aztek Dummy when he was actually working on a test shot, and he had cloudy clear parts. And at that moment in time, he not only had he not cut the masks yet for this, but the Paragraphix, the photo etch, was not available. It's really cool to watch how this sort of evolved. But what I wanted to show you here is all of the various accoutrements that we're going to be working on. Now, there's a control station box that we can cut a hole into and get that lit. So that's one option there. On the airlock itself, you've got some incredible stuff. You've got ladder treads. You've got door tracks for the airlock door. And on the airlock door itself, you've got some handles. And then on the map table, the infamous map table, and the reason why I call it infamous is because there was a lot there that could have been more highly detailed. We've got to remove some elements, and we're going to clean the face off of one element, but we're going to physically completely remove two elements for those boxes. And those can be lit if you want to light those. And then sort of this is where it gets really interesting and exciting, because this is the map case. Now, in previous incarnations, it was thought that you just drilled holes into the various elements on that part. And let me show you that part, because I have it on the table here. We just pull it out. Here is this part, and it was thought that you just drilled holes into that, and then you put some styrene tube behind it. But nay, we don't do that anymore. What we do is we follow along on the instructions here, and we're actually going to physically remove this entire part. We're going to physically remove it because we've got photo etch for it. And we've got a box that we can create, and that's going to replace the original part. So we don't drill into this anymore. We just physically remove the material, and we're going to make this flush with the map front. And what we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves some tubing. Now, this is 2.5 millimeter tubing. Which you can either run through these holes or we can fill every single hole with a map. I think I'm actually going to put the 2.5 mil tubing in there, and then we're going to fill most of the holes with some maps, but not all of them. So that is a cool upgrade. And then, of course, on the walls, on the rear walls, we've got to remove some material for some dials. And we've also got some lighting opportunities there as well. So that is an awful lot to consider. And then we go into the lab, which we're not going to deal with on this update. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to have to start preparing all of these parts for the photo etch. We'll get all of that sort of cleaned up and detailed out, and then we can start thinking about a coat of primer on everything, And most likely that's where we'll end this update, because that's an awful lot of information. And I think it's fun that we've compared and contrasted both of these models and seen the various elements that it's going to take to get the actual inside of the sub control area ready to go. And the other thing we'll do before we say goodbye on this update is we will get into some lighting, because I'm going to give that some thought. Obviously, we've got the bubble, the lights exterior to the bubble that have to go in. We've got a light for the very front. There's a radar screen on the very front of the nose of the cockpit, and we're going to light that. And then we've got some ambient light that we can put in here, and then we've got a light, obviously, for the lab. Now, because I'm going to light the lab, I am going to remove what are the rear windows. In the film, they're black. Some people have thought of some wonderful ideas. I saw an idea where the entire top of this ship is hinged, and you can lift the whole thing up and look at everything inside. But I'm not going to go that far, but I am going to make the inside of the lab visible from the rear, and you'll see what you see. And because it's lit, you should get a little bit of a taste of it, and you will be able to see some of it through the front, although not a tremendous amount. Okay, I've been making progress on assembling and organizing the parts on the MOEBIUS version for its photo etch. Lots of photo etch detail if you want to use it, and I recommend you take your time and use all of it, because it really adds a dimension of realism and accuracy that you don't have from the basic kit. And again, you know, knock yourself out. If you want to build it from out of the box, you certainly can, and you'll get a great kit. Interestingly enough, there's with the photo etch set that Paul put out, and it's almost 10 years ago now. I think this kit came out in 16. But there's detail and there's uber detail. And one of the uber details is the vents. If you want to use the basic vent on the photo etch sheet, he's got them. If you want to do the uber detailing, he can do that. Well, we're going to do a little bit of uber detailing. I mean, why not? And there's a couple of things that we're going to be doing. But this is the uber detail. So you get a vent, and then you get a frame that they want you to put over the vent like that. And it does add another level of dimension. It sort of just makes it a little bigger, really, and that's a good thing. So I'm going to be going in that direction on one of the walls. Well, this is if you're looking through. Well, why did I just? Okay, so if you're looking straight through, on the back side here, there are walls. There are 3 walls. And one of the walls has all kinds of dials and things on it. Now, I've opened up the wall here, and I'm chipping away at it because I'm going to actually backlight it. And I've even drilled out the holes. There are some holes in here that weren't called to be drilled out, but I've drilled everything out because I may put fiber optic in there. I may just put some Tamiya clear in there. But I've got lots of little blinkies and flashes that might be fun to put back there. I don't know. I'm going to be thinking about that in the next couple of days. But for sure, we're going to get going. We've done an awful lot. Now, the map table is an interesting element. And what I've done is I've started construction of it. Here's how far I've gotten. So this is what you're looking at is the back side. And that now has its photo etch on. And if you wanted to, you could add some blinkies, but I'm not going to there. And then on this side, now this is the side that you know Michael Boyd sits at, right? So he sits in between the map table and the back here, and when he's doing his communication, and you do see quite a bit. So I'm going to continue to work on this, because I might even add a little bit of lead wire just to bring out the dimensionality of some of those wires. So you've got that. Now, here is the front of it. And if you are going to use the photo etch for the chart table and all of the various holes that hold the charts, you need the two pieces of photo etch. Here's the one, and then here's the other. Let me see. Here it is, and here's the other one. Now, the one with the flaps sits in the back, and then the one without the flaps is going to sit in front. And what you're going to do is you're going to grind down. Let me get this in the corner. You're going to grind down this section here so that this piece sits flush. It doesn't sit on top. It sits flush. Now, so we're going to be doing that. Now, interestingly enough, then here's the other wall, and I've opened that up because there's an opportunity in there. There's some gauges there, so there's an opportunity to put some light back there, and there's plenty of room in here, and that would go against the other side, like that. Now, you would have a perfectly decent table, because this top piece here gets a metal effect. It's sort of it's vents, really. It's kind of louvered vents and this is the piece at the bottom that is actually the light box for the anatomy that Donald Pleasance puts on the chart. He's sort of monitoring their journey through the body. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this piece as well, and I'm going to scratch build a piece with some opaque film so that I can actually use a transparency. And what I've done is, quite cleverly, I might add, I have printed up some anatomy. Now, I haven't been able to find the exact versions of this, but it doesn't matter. I mean, well, it doesn't say it doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter, because it could be any moment in time. But here are these transparencies that I've printed out, and I just pulled some photos, and here's my transparencies. And I'm going to put the transparency on a piece of opaque clear and replace this part. And I'm going to put a light behind it. Now, everything else, now this obviously means that this will have to be light blocked. So I'm going to be doing that. Because it's front and center when you see it through the screen, it's going to add some light to the actual cockpit itself, and I think some real interest. And then the table that sits on it, here's that, and I've been working on that too. Now there is an opportunity here to get to drill these out, and I can certainly do that and probably will. And then there's a couple of boxes that you build, and I've put those on. So essentially what happens is your chart table sitteth like thiseth. And you start to see the sort of the madness of this and how much detail you can actually put on it. But hey, if you're going to do it and you're going all the way, let's go all the way and see what we can do. Now, you know, there are hundreds of versions of this out there with various different paint schemes. And there's definitely grays, and there's some greens in it, and there's also some metal surfaces. And there's some trim that goes around the table that is probably there to stop things from rolling off, because this submarine was supposed to be designed to for research, for deep ocean research of large fish. At least that's what we're told in the film. So it's got all kinds of interesting stuff. And, you know, one of the funniest things that you realize is when you watch the movie is how much, bless his heart, Irwin Allen pulled from the scene docs and everywhere else for Lost in Space. You've got sound effects. You've got you've got the lung tissue, the hairs that came down. That appeared in an episode, all kinds of fun stuff. So the sort of the 6 degrees of separation at Fox during this time are quite wonderful. But this film is really worth going through and seeing again. And of course, typical me, if you start watching the film 4, 5, or 6 times, all of a sudden your head explodes with what you see. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. Okay, I'm gonna continue to plow on here. I just wanted to give you a progress report on what I'm doing, and before we go to the next segment, I did want to show you. I wanted to show you this wonderful frame I found of the forward section of the Proteus. And there's an awful lot to be gathered from here. But what I'm really paying attention to is in the very rear. The gentleman in the white shirt. Well, I assume it's white. It's black and white. But I assume it's white. But the gentleman in the shirt, if you look just above him and to the left, there's a light fixture. And it's a curious looking light fixture. Now, I have zoomed in on this. And I'll see if I can do it again right here. Let's see if we can... There we go. I believe it's a light fixture. Now, I could be wrong, but I think it's a light fixture. And I think that is very, very curious. So I'm going to be paying attention to that. There's also, curiously enough, there is some gackage on that wall that also has some hoses. Now, they're above the door, and we've got an element on the rear door that comes with the kit. So there is an element that we'll be putting here. Here's the door, and there is an element. Now, obviously, this piece of photo etch I haven't got. I'm going to be photo etching this. I haven't gotten this to it yet. But if you follow along on this set, there is a large piece of gackage. Now, we do have something to put there, but what we don't have is the hoses. And it's interesting the way the bulkhead drops in there over at the ceiling. So we're going to have some fun with that. We're going to put some more hosage on those walls. I think it'll be worth it. We might see a little bit of it. We might see none of it. But I'm going to do it just because let's uber detail this thing. And then color... I'm going to go with a wolf gray for my walls. It's got a little bit of blue in it, but it's really it's gray, and I like it. I have removed the top part, as we know, to the chart box for my photo etch, but it was bugging me because I've got this beautiful little transparency that I want to be able to view on this screen. Now, I could literally, well, let me punch in here so you can see what I'm talking about. This piece sits perfectly. It's designed to sit beautifully and does sit beautifully on this piece here. So it sits like this. Excuse my fat fingers, but that's where it sits. And if you are to scratch build something, you certainly could, and I've got the clear to do it. Getting it beveled and framed up might be an issue. However, what I can do is I can remove all of this plastic, and I can place over the whole thing this diffusion glass, and I will get myself the perfect, I believe I will get myself the perfect light box for reviewing the charts. So I'm going to remove this now. I'm going to do it carefully with my sonic blade, clean that up. I'm going to put the transparency over it, and then we'll light that up and we'll see whether or not I failed miserably or not. Hey, sometimes, you know, best laid plans, but yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Let's take a look at that next. I have my transparency, which is a little large, but we'll get that down to scale. I've got my light on my, I've got a 8050 SMD strip behind it. Obviously, it's lighting up the board, or I should say the proposed, and then that will sit in front of it, and that is what we will see below the chart table, which is supposed to replicate that chart table. And I would say that's a result. I'm very happy with that. I think that's a wonderful detail, and I think it's going to pop very nicely. So happy to share that process with you. Happy to make it work. Okay, I'm going to clean all this up, and I'm going to continue to work on lighting. Obviously, we know now we've got a light inside the map table for the chart light box. We're going to put something in there too, perhaps for some blinkies. I don't know. We'll take a look at that. We know we need an amber light for the front console radar screen. We know we need an overhead light, and we obviously know we need our dome lights, and we will need a light for the lab. So all in all, I think we should be fine on a 9-volt system. We're not going crazy with this. The question is how do we display it, and where does the wire go to so it looks clean? I'm still racking my brain around that a little bit, but I'm very happy with this result. Together, I'm getting a little bit of color on things. I've found a gray that I'm happy with. For the work surfaces, I'm going to go with the JN gray, which has a lot of green in it. And for the walls, I've got this light gray that I'm going to be using. It's all a little bland, but with the black consoles, a lot of the metal, the silver, you've got your very dark red frame for the pilot's chair, and some other details. You will get some pops of color. And I did notice in the production frame grab that I found, now albeit in black and white, but I have confirmed it in the film, is that there's some cableage of various different colors that are running down the inside, the backside of the chart table. So there's some opportunities there just to add some more cabling, and I'm going to do that because you know I'm not sure entirely what you will see and not see, but if we're going to uber detail this out, we might as well just keep going until we can't keep going anymore. For both of these kits, there is going to be some sacrifices, and there are going to have to be some decisions. In no importance at all, but just in thought process, really interesting. So for Drew's kit, the Crowsnest kit, the door is going to be permanently shut because there will be no lab. Okay, so that there's just no point to it, and the resin is incredibly thick. It doesn't serve a purpose for me to do it, so I'm just not. I've got some cleanup to do here on the map table. I'm going to detail this out with paint, and I'm just going to sort of have some fun with it. All the details are here, so we just need to sort of start laying in base color and doing some dry brushing and starting to clean all that up, and that'll be hunky-dory. On the MOEBIUS kit, which is my Uber detailing kit, I have started to play with color. I'm very happy with the wall color based on what I'm seeing in the production. So that is going along swimmingly. There is an opportunity here on this side to backlight the dials. I'm still thinking about that. You can see here that we are going to see into the lab. I am going to cut out the windows in the back here. I'm gonna be cutting these out so that you can see a little piece of the lab. I think that I think there's a lot of value to that. Then obviously I'm uber detailing the tables, and I'm going to be adding some cableage. I've also been looking at the production photo. This is obviously the shooting side. They never had a wild wall on the other side. All the camera angles are from this side. So all the action in the movie takes place on this side. They can bring a camera around the front, and they do, to look backwards, but they never come from the other angle. Everything is shot from this angle. They obviously had the ability also to remove the bubble so that they could also shoot his face there. I'm still toying with some of the cableage. You can see there's some gackage on the walls here. Now, Paul's photo etch set does give you some of the boxes that you can see under the pilot's platform. We're going to be using that photo etch, but I'm going to be adding some cable of my own. You can see in the center of the photo there is a lamp on the desk. As I have scratch built myself a lamp for the desk. Here it is, and I'm very, very happy with that. I'm considering lighting it. I may get a little microchip in there. I am a glutton for punishment, so we'll see. But it's done. Very happy with the progress I've made on the chart storage area. And of course, I scratch built the light box, which we will light up, and that goes in here. So I'm very, very, very happy with the progress I've made there. And I've also come to the conclusion that I'm going to be using JN Gray. JN Gray, which is a green gray for the desktops, the surface areas. There's going to be a little bit of a ledge that I'm going to have to build. I've got some strip styrene here that I'm going to be using, and that is going to be for the sort of the pencil edge. I guess if things can't roll off the desk, makes perfect sense. And that will all be done in a metal color. And I'm fashioning some of the boxes, and they're getting a black treatment here before they get dry brushed and before I start working on some of the other cableage. But I'm very happy with that. I've got my little charts of human anatomy that I've been making copies of, and they're going to be rolled up, and we'll put those in the chart container. There's no need per the photo etch. There's a recommendation that you can actually put tubes in there to sort of connect. There's no need to do it because the truth of the matter is even if your charts that you're suggesting are in there are a couple of millimeters long, you'd never see the back of it anyway. And it's just not, it doesn't make any sense to me personally. So, okay. We know we're going to have a single source light for the lab. We know we're going to have a single source light for the interior of the ship. There's going to be some sauciness from lighting up the little radar nav box in the front. We may have some blinkies. I'm not sure about that yet. There's going to be some glow, obviously, in the light box. And there's some light in there that will help light up some of the other parts, photo etch parts that I've drilled into, and I'll put a little bit of Tamiya red clear and green clear in those, so you might get a little warmth from that. And other than that, I think that will be most of the lighting, if not all of it. And then the idea is that the power for that will be run to a pin that I will drill out and install in the bottom here, and that pin will connect with it'll be sort of male female, and that will connect with a pin that will be sitting it on a base. I've spoken to Randy Cooper, the great Randy Cooper, a good friend, and he is making me a clear acrylic base for it, and I will get I have a source for the translight to put under that, so it should mimic the 12-inch, but the 12-inch is going to get its own miniaturization base that we'll be talking about a little later. We briefly touched on it, but we're going to really get into it because it has all the bells and whistles in it. It has got it's obviously all the STL parts, but it also has a tenor controls board specifically made for this miniaturization base. So you won't want to miss the conversation about that and its installation, which will all be part of this build-up of the two Proteuses. Okay. That is going to do it for part one of this build. I'm thrilled you're along with me. Hey, if you want to get a hold of me, I'm spruverse@gmail.com, and I post most days my in the weeds photos on my Instagram account at spruverse. You can buy me a cup of coffee. That link is on my channel page. But hey, as always, I wish all of you, please, be safe, be well, build something, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Be well.